My name is Carmen Rodriguez. I'm 68 years old from San Antonio, Texas, and I'm about to tell you how my daughter-in-law, Monica, thought she could steal my precious wedding ring collection worth $125,000 while I was recovering from knee replacement surgery, not knowing she'd picked the wrong abuela to mess with. You see, I'd spent 28 years as an insurance claims investigator for State Farm, specializing in jewelry theft and fraud cases that taught me exactly how thieves operate and how to catch them. It started 3 months ago when I had to have my right knee completely replaced. At 68, any major surgery is serious business, and the doctors at University Hospital kept me there for 5 days, then sent me to rehabilitation for another week. My son Miguel's wife, Monica, had volunteered to stay at my house in Monte Vista to take care of things while I was laid up. Monica is 34 years old, has been married to my Miguel for 8 years, and I welcomed her into our family with open arms when they first got together. She was a pretty young woman who seemed to love my son and said all the right things about family and tradition. But over the years, I'd noticed Monica always had her eyes on expensive things, my jewelry, my antique furniture, and asked questions about what things were worth. "Mommy Carmen, you have such beautiful rings," she'd say during Sunday dinners, always complimenting my wedding ring collection. "These must be worth a fortune. Are you sure it's safe keeping them in the house?" My wedding ring collection wasn't just valuable, it was my life story told in diamonds and gold. My original wedding ring from Roberto, a simple gold band we bought with our first paycheck in 1975. When Roberto got promoted to foreman at the construction company, he surprised me with a diamond solitaire for our 5th anniversary. When Miguel was born, Roberto added a mother's ring with our son's birthstone. For our 25th anniversary, he gave me the most beautiful diamond anniversary band I'd ever seen. After Roberto died in 2018, I added his wedding ring to my collection, wearing it on a chain around my neck every day. The rings represented 43 years of love, sacrifice, and building a life together. The insurance appraisal I'd done in 2022 valued the collection at $125,000, but to me they were priceless. During my recovery, Monica visited every day, always asking about my important jewelry and whether I'd considered putting it in a safety deposit box for security reasons. She'd offer to help me organize my bedroom, always steering the conversation toward where I kept my valuable things. "Mommy, after what happened to Mrs. Garcia down the street getting robbed, maybe we should move your rings somewhere safer," she'd say. "I could help you take them to the bank when you're feeling better." I should have caught that she knew too much about my storage habits, but I trusted family. The discovery came 2 weeks after I got home from rehabilitation. I was finally mobile enough to go to my jewelry box to put on Roberto's ring for church, and my heart stopped. The entire collection was gone. My wedding rings, Roberto's ring, the anniversary bands, everything. All that remained were some cheap costume jewelry pieces Monica had obviously left behind to make the theft look like a random burglary. My hands shaking, I called the police immediately. Officer Martinez arrived within 30 minutes, took my report, and asked the question I'd been dreading. "Mrs. Rodriguez, who has access to your house and knew where you kept these rings?" Only one person had been in my house during the time the rings went missing. Only one person knew exactly where I kept my jewelry collection. Only one person had been asking detailed questions about their value and security for months. That afternoon, I called Miguel at work. "Mijo, we need to talk. In person. Tonight." When Miguel arrived that evening with Monica, I laid out the situation with the precision I'd learned from 28 years of investigating insurance fraud. My wedding ring collection is missing, stolen. The only person who had access to my house and knew where I kept them was Monica. Miguel looked shocked. Monica's face went white, then red, with what she tried to play off as indignation. "Mommy Carmen, how could you accuse me of such a thing? I would never steal from family. Maybe you misplaced them, or maybe someone broke in while I was at work. But I'd spent nearly 3 decades catching thieves who thought they were smarter than the investigators. I knew guilt when I saw it, and Monica was guilty as sin. That night, I made a decision that would destroy my son's marriage and teach his wife what happened when you stole from Carmen Rodriguez. Monica thought she was robbing a helpless old woman recovering from surgery. Instead, she'd declared war on a retired insurance investigator who'd never lost a case in 28 years. The battle had begun, and only one of us was walking away with anything. Before I tell you how I destroyed Monica, you need to understand exactly what she took from me and the lifetime of memories those rings represented. Each ring in my collection told the story of my 43-year marriage to Roberto, a love story built through hard work, sacrifice, and dreams that we achieved together one paycheck at a time. I met Roberto in 1974 when I was 19 years old, working as a secretary at Lackland Air Force Base. He was 21, a construction worker trying to save enough money to start his own contracting business. We were both from working-class Mexican-American families on San Antonio's west side, and neither of us had much money. But we had big dreams and weren't afraid of hard work. When Roberto proposed in 1975, he couldn't afford the diamond engagement ring he wanted to give me. Instead, he presented me with a simple gold band that cost 87, a week's worth of his construction wages. "Carmen, someday I'll buy you the biggest diamond in San Antonio," he promised. "But right now, this ring represents all the love I have for you and all the future we're going to build together." I treasured that simple gold band more than any expensive ring because it represented our beginning, our faith in each other, and Roberto's promise that we'd build something beautiful together. Roberto kept his promise. In 1980, when he got promoted to construction foreman and I got my job at State Farm, he surprised me with a 1-carat diamond solitaire for our 5th anniversary. "Now you have the ring you deserve," he said, sliding it onto my finger. "This diamond is as strong and beautiful as our marriage." When Miguel was born in 1983, Roberto added a mother's ring to my collection, a gold band with Miguel's emerald birthstone surrounded by tiny diamonds. "For the most beautiful mother in the world," he whispered in the hospital room, holding our newborn son. "Now you have a ring that celebrates our family." As Roberto's contracting business grew successful through the 1980s and 1990s, my collection grew with our prosperity. For our 15th anniversary, he gave me diamond earrings. For our 20th, a diamond tennis bracelet. But the crown jewel came for our 25th anniversary in 2000, a stunning 3-carat diamond anniversary band with emerald-cut stones that took Roberto 6 months to pay off. "Carmen, you've stood by me through every struggle, every success, every dream we've chased together," he said at our anniversary dinner. "This ring represents 25 years of partnership and love that just keeps getting stronger." Each piece in my collection represented a milestone in our marriage. Roberto's business success, Miguel's achievements, family celebrations, and the deep love that sustained us through 43 years of marriage. The rings weren't just jewelry. They were tangible proof of a life well lived, a partnership that had created prosperity through honest work and mutual devotion. When Roberto died suddenly of a heart attack in 2018, I added his wedding ring to my collection. The gold band he'd worn for 43 years joined my rings in the velvet-lined jewelry box, and I began wearing it on a chain around my neck every day. Having Roberto's ring close to my heart made me feel like he was still with me, still protecting our family. But the collection wasn't just sentimental. It represented serious financial value. In 2022, when I had the rings appraised for insurance purposes, the certified gemologist valued them at $125,000. The original gold band, worth $87 in 1975, was now valued at $2,800 as an antique. The diamond solitaire was worth $18,000. The anniversary band was appraised at $45,000. Roberto's ring, worn smooth by 4 decades of honest work, was valued at $3,200. More importantly, those rings represented financial security. At 68, living on Social Security and Roberto's pension, my jewelry collection was my emergency fund, my inheritance for Miguel, and my connection to the love story that had defined my life. I'd worked 28 years as an insurance claims investigator, processing thousands of theft claims and learning exactly how criminals operated. I knew the value of documentation, the importance of evidence, and how to build cases that resulted in convictions. My jewelry collection was photographed, appraised, cataloged, and insured for exactly this reason. Monica knew all of this. During family dinners, she'd listen to me talk about my work, my cases, and my expertise in catching thieves. She'd seen me handle Roberto's death with the same methodical precision I'd brought to my professional life, organizing documents, managing insurance claims, and protecting our family's assets. When Monica decided to steal my rings, she made the fatal mistake of underestimating the woman she was robbing. She saw a grieving widow recovering from surgery and thought I'd be an easy target. She forgot that I'd spent 3 decades learning exactly how to catch people like her. Monica thought she was stealing from a helpless old lady who wouldn't fight back. Instead, she'd committed multiple felonies against someone who'd built a career destroying criminals, who preyed on vulnerable victims. The rings she stole weren't just valuable jewelry, they were evidence in what would become the most personal case of my entire career. What I discovered next revealed that Monica's theft of my wedding rings wasn't a desperate, spur-of-the-moment crime. It was the culmination of a carefully planned scheme she'd been developing for months, using my surgery recovery as the perfect cover for her criminal operation. The morning after confronting Miguel and Monica, I did what any retired insurance investigator would do when facing a major theft. I called my former colleague, Detective Lisa Santos from SAPD's Property Crimes Division. Lisa had worked with me on dozens of jewelry theft cases during my State Farm career, and she understood the complexity of family financial crimes. "Carmen, I'm sorry this happened to you," Lisa said when I explained the situation. Family theft cases are always the most difficult because the perpetrators know exactly what to target and when victims are most vulnerable. "Let me ask you, has Monica been asking unusual questions about your jewelry or finances recently?" That question opened my memory to months of suspicious behavior I'd ignored because I trusted family. Monica had been systematically gathering information about my valuable possessions, asking detailed questions during every family visit under the guise of concern for my security. "Mommy Carmen, these rings must be worth so much money. Do you have them properly insured?" she'd asked during Christmas dinner. "Have you thought about what will happen to them when you're gone? Maybe Miguel and I should know where you keep the important papers, just in case." Lisa recommended I hire Jennifer Morales, a private investigator who specialized in family financial crimes. "Carmen, if Monica planned this theft, there will be evidence, internet searches, communications with potential buyers, maybe even accomplices. Jennifer can find what the police might miss." Within 24 hours, Jennifer had uncovered evidence that made my blood pressure spike. Monica hadn't just stolen my rings on impulse. She'd been researching jewelry theft and fencing operations for over 3 months. "Carmen, your daughter-in-law has been visiting online forums about selling estate jewelry, researching pawn shops that don't ask too many questions, and even looking up the legal penalties for family theft," Jennifer reported during our meeting at her downtown office. "She's been planning this crime since before your surgery was even scheduled." Jennifer's computer forensics expert had traced Monica's internet activity through public Wi-Fi records and social media patterns. Monica had been researching how to remove jewelry from settings to make pieces less identifiable, how to find buyers for high-end diamonds, and what information insurance companies required to process theft claims. She's been treating this like a business plan. Not a family betrayal, Jennifer explained. Monica studied your work schedule, your medical appointments, and even your church attendance patterns to find the perfect window for the theft. But the most damaging discovery was what Jennifer found on Monica's credit report and financial records. Monica was drowning in debt. Credit cards maxed out at $34,000, behind on car payments, and facing foreclosure on the house she and Miguel had bought beyond their means. Carmen, your daughter-in-law isn't just greedy, she's desperate. She needed quick cash to avoid financial catastrophe, and your ring collection represented an easy solution to her money problems. Jennifer had also discovered that Monica had already contacted 3 different jewelry buyers in Austin and Houston, sending photos of inherited family jewelry she wanted to sell quickly for cash. The photos were taken inside my house during one of her visits, showing my rings laid out on my bedroom dresser. Monica was planning to drive to Austin this weekend to complete the sale, Jennifer reported. She'd already received quotes totaling $85,000 for the collection, well below the insured value, but enough cash to solve her immediate financial crisis. That afternoon, I made the most painful decision of my life. I called Miguel at his construction site to request an emergency family meeting. "Mijo, I need you and Monica to come to my house tonight. I have new information about my missing rings that changes everything." When Miguel arrived that evening, I could see the stress in his face. His wife was acting strange, defensive, and paranoid. He was beginning to suspect what I already knew for certain. "Miguel, I hired a private investigator to find my rings," I began. "What she discovered breaks my heart. But you need to know the truth about your wife." I laid out Jennifer's evidence systematically, Monica's internet research, her contacts with jewelry buyers, her financial desperation, and the photos she'd taken of my rings inside my house. Miguel's face went through every emotion: disbelief, recognition, anger, and finally, devastation. "Mommy, are you saying Monica planned this whole thing? That she used your surgery as an opportunity to rob you?" "That's exactly what I'm saying, mijo. And I have proof." Monica wasn't there for this conversation. I deliberately asked Miguel to come alone because I knew she'd try to manipulate the situation. But I wanted my son to understand the full scope of his wife's betrayal before I moved to the next phase of my investigation. "What are you going to do?" Miguel asked quietly. "I'm going to get my rings back, and I'm going to make sure Monica faces the full legal consequences of stealing from family," I replied. "Miguel, I love you more than life itself, but your wife committed multiple felonies against me. She planned this theft for months, violated my trust while I was recovering from surgery, and was planning to sell my most precious possessions for quick cash." That evening, I sat in my living room looking at 43 years of family photos and made peace with what had to happen next. Monica thought she was dealing with a vulnerable elderly widow who wouldn't fight back against family theft. Instead, she'd declared war on a retired insurance investigator who'd spent 28 years learning exactly how to catch criminals and build cases that resulted in convictions and complete asset recovery. The investigation was complete. Now it was time for justice. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done since retiring 5 years ago. I put on my best Navy business suit, arranged my silver hair in the professional style I'd worn for nearly 3 decades, and walked into the offices of Martinez and Associates like I was reporting for the most important case of my career. Attorney Roberto Martinez, no relation, despite the name, had handled some of the most complex theft and fraud cases I'd worked on during my State Farm career. When his secretary announced me, Roberto came out personally with the respect accorded to veteran investigators. "Carmen Rodriguez, What brings our legendary insurance detective back to active duty? Roberto, I need to retain your firm for criminal charges involving grand theft and elder financial abuse. And this time, it's personal. For the next 2 hours, I laid out Monica's criminal scheme with the precision I'd perfected over 28 years of building insurance fraud cases. Jennifer Morales' investigation file, Detective Santos's criminal reports, and my own documentation created an airtight prosecution framework. Carmen, this is textbook elder financial abuse with sophisticated criminal planning, Roberto said, reviewing my materials. Your daughter-in-law isn't just facing theft charges, premeditation, elder abuse targeting. An interstate conspiracy to sell stolen goods make this a federal case. Roberto, I don't want just criminal prosecution. I want complete financial destruction, civil restitution, asset seizure, and judgment liens that follow her for life. That afternoon, Roberto filed comprehensive criminal complaints with both SAPD and federal authorities, plus a civil lawsuit seeking $375,000 in damages, triple the ring value under Texas elder abuse statutes, plus punitive damages for emotional distress and family betrayal. But criminal prosecution was only the foundation of my revenge strategy. I wanted Monica to lose everything she valued, starting with the house she'd stolen my rings to save. Detective Santos had been building the criminal case with methodical precision. Monica's jewelry buyers, faced with receiving stolen property charges, agreed to cooperate fully in exchange for immunity from prosecution. Mrs. Rodriguez, your daughter-in-law contacted 4 different buyers in 3 cities, sent photos of your rings, and received written quotes totaling $85,000, Detective Santos reported. We have all the electronic communications, photos, and agreements. This case will result in conviction. The federal investigation expanded when FBI agents discovered Monica's scheme involved wire fraud and transportation of stolen property across state lines. Her electronic communications with buyers in Austin and Houston made it a federal crime with enhanced penalties. Ma'am, your daughter-in-law is facing federal charges carrying 5 to 10 years in prison, plus complete asset forfeiture of anything purchased with proceeds from criminal activity, Special Agent Rodriguez explained. But the most satisfying justice came from community consequences. Word spread quickly through our Monte Vista neighborhood that Monica Rodriguez had stolen her mother-in-law's wedding rings while the elderly woman was recovering from surgery. Carmen, everyone in the neighborhood is talking about what Monica did, my neighbor Mrs. Garcia told me after Sunday Mass. Stealing from family, especially from you after all you've done for them, it's unforgivable. The church community response was swift and decisive. Father Martinez addressed the situation during his sermon without mentioning names, but everyone knew he meant Monica. There is no sin more grievous than betraying the family members who have shown you nothing but love and generosity, he preached. When we steal from our elders, we steal from the people who sacrificed everything to build the families we benefit from. Next came Monica's financial destruction. Her mortgage company, presented with evidence of her criminal charges and elder abuse conviction, demanded immediate payment of the outstanding loan balance, $285,000 she couldn't possibly pay. Mrs. Rodriguez, criminal activity violates the mortgage terms. The borrowers have 30 days to satisfy the full amount or face foreclosure proceedings. I also contacted Monica's credit card companies, car loan company, and employment references, providing them with documentation of her elder abuse charges and theft conviction. Within days, her credit was destroyed and her job prospects eliminated, but the centerpiece of my legal strategy was something I'd perfected during 28 years of insurance investigation, recovering stolen property through coordinated law enforcement. Action. Roberto Martinez worked with federal agents to trace my rings through the buyers Monica had contacted. Using Jennifer's evidence and the buyer's cooperation, agents recovered my entire collection within 1 week. "Mrs. Rodriguez, we have all your rings," Agent Rodriguez reported. "They're evidence until trial, but after conviction, they'll be returned to you completely intact." The trial proceeded with courtroom efficiency I remembered from my professional days. Monica's own internet research, her communications with buyers, and the systematic evidence of her criminal planning created such an overwhelming case that her court-appointed attorney recommended accepting the prosecution's plea offer. Monica pled guilty to grand theft, elder financial abuse, and federal wire fraud charges. 7 years in federal prison, complete restitution including emotional damages, and a permanent felony record that would follow her forever. But the criminal conviction was only the beginning of Monica's destruction. The civil judgment, asset forfeiture, and community consequences would make her life unlivable even after prison. Monica thought she was targeting a vulnerable elderly widow who wouldn't fight back against family theft. Instead, she'd chosen to steal from a retired insurance investigator who'd spent 28 years perfecting techniques for destroying criminals who preyed on elderly victims. The final destruction of Monica's life unfolded with the systematic precision I'd learned from nearly 3 decades of building insurance fraud cases. By the time I finished with her, Monica had lost not just her freedom, but every aspect of the life she'd tried to save by stealing from me. The federal sentencing came first. 7 years in federal prison, complete restitution of $125,000 plus emotional damages, and permanent felony status that would follow her forever. Judge Patricia Williams made clear that elder financial abuse, especially by family members, warranted the maximum penalties allowed by law. The defendant systematically planned and executed the theft of irreplaceable family heirlooms from an elderly family member recovering from surgery. Judge Williams stated during sentencing, "This represents the most egregious form of elder abuse, calculated betrayal of family trust combined with sophisticated criminal planning." The civil judgment followed. $375,000 in damages under Texas elder abuse statutes. Monica's house, her car, her personal belongings, and even her wedding ring were seized to satisfy the judgment. She lost everything she'd tried to save by stealing from me. But the most satisfying moment came when my son Miguel finally saw his wife for who she really was. During the criminal proceedings, Miguel discovered that Monica had been lying to him about her debt, her spending, and her criminal planning for months. "Mommy, I'm filing for divorce," Miguel told me the day after Monica's sentencing. "I can't be married to someone who would steal from the woman who raised me, who loved her like a daughter, who welcomed her into our family with open arms." Miguel received full custody of their 2 children, Isabella and Roberto Jr., my precious grandchildren who would grow up knowing their mother chose crime over family. Monica would spend their childhood years in federal prison, missing every birthday, every school play, and every milestone she'd sacrificed for quick money. The community response throughout San Antonio's west side was swift and permanent. When word spread that Monica Rodriguez had stolen her mother-in-law's wedding rings while the elderly woman recovered from surgery, her reputation was destroyed forever. Sister Gonzalez and Sister Martinez from St. Augustine Catholic Church made sure the entire congregation understood what Monica had done. In a tight-knit Mexican-American community like ours, a criminal conviction for elder abuse marked someone permanently as untrustworthy and shameful. "Carmen, what Monica did to you was unforgivable," Father Martinez told me after Sunday Mass. "Stealing from the woman who treated her like a daughter shows a heart completely given over to greed." The community stands with you, but I wanted Monica to understand the complete scope of what she'd lost through her betrayal. 6 months after her sentencing, I wrote her 1 letter in federal prison, the only communication I would ever send. Monica. By now you've spent 6 months in federal prison thinking about the choice you made to steal from me while I was recovering from surgery. I thought you should know what your betrayal accomplished. Your children ask about you sometimes. But Miguel has explained that Mommy made very bad choices and has to stay away for a long time. Isabella is excelling in school and plays the violin beautifully. Roberto Jr. is learning to play baseball and asks his daddy to teach him construction skills. They're both proud of their family name, Rodriguez, which you brought shame to through your criminal actions. Your house was sold at a foreclosure auction. A lovely young family bought it who actually appreciate what they have instead of stealing from elderly relatives to afford luxuries they can't pay for. Your wedding ring was seized and sold to pay victim restitution. The new owner is a woman whose husband saved for 2 years to buy it for their anniversary, something you never appreciated because nothing was ever enough for you. But here's what I really want you to understand. Your betrayal didn't destroy me. It revealed your true character and protected my family from future harm. I've used the restitution money to establish an education fund for Isabella and Roberto Jr., ensuring they'll have opportunities you threw away when you chose crime over family. Every dollar you stole has been returned with interest. And every year that fund grows will represent the positive outcome of your negative choices. Your children will receive the college education I would have provided for you if you'd remained the daughter-in-law I thought you were. You thought you could steal from Carmen Rodriguez and get away with it because I was old, sick, and trusted family. Instead, you learned that some women spent their careers teaching criminals like you that actions have consequences that last a lifetime. Your mother-in-law is dead to you now. The woman writing this letter is Carmen Rodriguez, a retired insurance investigator who spent 28 years making sure criminals face complete justice for their crimes. Don't contact me when you get out. Don't expect forgiveness or reconciliation. You made your choice, and now you live with it forever. Today, I'm 71 years old, living peacefully in my Monte Vista home with my wedding ring collection restored and displayed in a proper jewelry safe. Miguel and the grandchildren visit every Sunday after church, and we've rebuilt our family without the toxic presence of someone who valued money more than love. The insurance money and civil judgment recovery allowed me to renovate my house, travel to visit relatives in Mexico I hadn't seen in years, and establish the education fund that will ensure Isabella and Roberto Jr. receive every advantage Monica threw away. People sometimes ask if I feel guilty about destroying my daughter-in-law so completely. If family loyalty should have meant showing mercy. But I sleep peacefully every night knowing I taught Monica the most important lesson of her life. When you betray the people who love you, you lose everything worth having. Monica thought she'd found the perfect victim in her elderly mother-in-law recovering from surgery. Instead, she learned that some abuelitas spent their careers perfecting techniques for catching thieves and making sure they never steal from families again. The last thing I want to say is this. Protect your elderly family members, but never let family loyalty make you vulnerable to their crimes. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is ensure criminals face complete consequences for their choices, even when they married into your family. Because when family members become predators, justice isn't revenge, it's protection for everyone they might hurt next. Welcome to our story, family. You've just heard another chapter from our collection of real-life experiences. If you enjoyed spending this time in Granny's Story Corner, hit that subscribe button to join our growing family of story lovers. I'll be back soon with another tale from the heart.